Am I the asshole for leaving dinner early and causing a scene in front of my wife's family? Let me preface this by saying that I, M35, love my wife, F40. I just think she can be a bit inconsiderate at times. My son, 15M, has what my wife calls a deadpan voice. While I admit he doesn't show much enthusiasm when speaking, I think he has a right to express himself in his own way. My wife, however, insists that he needs to be more enthusiastic and vocal. She often tells him to speak up, or say it with feeling, and I can tell that it gets to him. My wife recently started taking a different approach, which I can tell really bothers him. When addressing him, she talks in the most enthusiastic voice she can muster. She'll even go so far as to clap her hands and make facial expressions as she talks to him. How was school today? Tell me all about it. Speak loudly and with enthusiasm. Think kindergarten teacher talking to her students. My son just looks at her like she's crazy and I can tell he's embarrassed. I have tried to privately talk to my wife about this, but she doesn't seem to get it. She insists that her way is the right way and that our son needs to learn how to be more outgoing. So fast forward to yesterday. We were celebrating Christmas at my sister-in-law's house and my son asked me to pass the gravy. My wife, in her usual enthusiastic voice, started saying, "Say it with feeling, honey. Can you ask for the gravy with enthusiasm?" I snapped. It's one thing to do this when it's just the two of us, but doing this in front of our family was too much. I got up, took my son, and took him to the movies, leaving my wife with the other family members. After we got back, my wife pulled me aside and absolutely ripped into me for causing a scene. She said that I was embarrassing her and that I was out of line. I told her that I was tired of her trying to fix our son's personality and that I felt this was a good opportunity to make a point. My wife's family hasn't said anything to me, but I've been getting a lot of judgmental looks from them. I just wanted to stick up for my son, but did I go too far? Am I the asshole? Loudly and with enthusiasm, not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your wife is mocking your son in front of your family. It's ridiculous. Edit. Thanks for the award. Not the asshole. She's purposely embarrassing him in front of the family and treating him like a toddler. Your son is 15. Heartbreaking. Your wife is bullying your son and you did the right thing standing up for him. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. As a person with a deadpan voice, I appreciate a parent going through the effort to tell their kid it's alright to be that way. Doesn't mean they don't care, that's just how they talk. Not the asshole. You actively brought this up, multiple times in private, with your wife. She has lost all claim to ask for this matter to remain in private because she refuses to act appropriately after being addressed. You are looking out for the mental health of your son, and didn't force him to sit there and be exposed to harassment from your wife. Am I the asshole for not appealing to the school to get my daughter in a higher education program? So my daughter, 14, is in 8th grade and the whole school is by the public high school. There is a program that allows 8th grades to go experience the basics of chemistry, biology, med, and engineering classes. The kids would go over to the high school in the morning for a class and miss their elective of the day, so like art class or gym class. It's a pretty good program, but it is only for the top students in middle school, basically the best of the best. They also do it for students who are great at literature or arts, but my daughter falls into the science one. My oldest kids before her both did it, but my middle child didn't get in. So my daughter gets in trouble a lot. Sometimes it's for small things, for not having her stuff for class, but other times it's for more important things. Just this year she picked the lock to a art classroom to get some coloring tools. I am talking to the principal at least once or twice a year. Not to mention how many times she has come home with a pink slip, it's like a warning. She's the class clown and really bright. No punishment that I have tried made it stop. So today we got the letters who will be getting into the program. It will start next week until she graduates. If you don't get in, the letter always tells you why. Usually it's your grades. Well, we opened it today and it basically said she had the grades to do it, but due to her discipline record they will not accept her into the program. She was very upset and asked me to try to appeal it. There is a process for the school, but I told her no. That this is the consequence of her actions and that I have warned her they will catch up. She called me an ass, and my husband is also not happy about what I said. Edit. She has been evaluated. All the kids were. We also thought she was bored with class, so she got moved up and she flunked out. She has been to therapy, but we stopped after she refused to talk to anyone. We tried for 9 months, she would sit in silence. Not the asshole. Why would they let in a child who has proven to be a distraction and hindrance to the learning of others? Maybe this will make her learn that actions have consequences. ETA. Turning off notifications for this post. Heart. I'm not interested in arguing with people who don't bother to read the whole post or OP's comments. I'm firm in my judgment. If she wants into the program, she can write the appeal herself and your husband can be the parent who commits to enforcing whatever she offers in terms of consequences for the behavior change. Not the asshole. There is a good life lesson here. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Am I the asshole for planning on celebrating my son's birthday on Veterans Day instead of my husband's service? My husband H, 32M, and I, 29F, have been married for 3 years. He is a veteran of the U.S. Army and values his military service as a very important part of himself and his history. He served for 8 years before he was honorably discharged. I gave birth to our son M nearly 2 months ago, on November 11. It's a long way away from his next birthday, but we've still been discussing the logistics of how we're going to handle future holidays now that we have a baby. My husband is very particular about those kinds of things, and he really likes having an idea of how things will go a long time in advance. It finally came up that he had been born on Veterans Day, which my husband obviously knew, but I don't know if it sank in at the time. I told him that I intended to celebrate our son's birthday on November 11, and we could have our Veterans Day dinner the day after. My husband was angry, and said that it's unreasonable to move a whole holiday when the whole U.S. is celebrating on that day, and that we could celebrate M's birthday the day prior or the next day. We still haven't come to an agreement. He thinks I'm an asshole for disrespecting his military service when the baby won't know his birthday is being celebrated a day later, but I think our son's birthday is much more important. Am I the asshole? Edit. My husband is service disabled and usually spends Veterans Day catching up with military friends and visiting a nearby veteran cemetery. He has lost friends in combat. I also think it's important to add, my husband is typically very modest about his service, and he is a wonderful father and a wonderful husband. His military service is something deeply important to him, and while I may disagree on how to handle our son's birthday, calling him a baby isn't fair at all. Regardless of the decision we make, I know he will respect it. He is generally very selfless and I'm not going to divorce my husband because of a disagreement. Not the asshole, and I'm speaking after serving 20+ years in the U.S. military. Any veteran that would put Veterans Day above the birthday of her child is 100% ta. There is not one of my military friends that could even comprehend that. Not the asshole. It's kinda concerning that your husband wants to overshadow his own son on his son's birthday. Not the asshole. Yes, a birthday outweighs Veterans Day. What does he want? His discount at the local diner. Poor kid. His dad cares more about being recognized for shooting people than he does about the kid. Not the asshole. I was also born on Veterans Day and none of my military family members ever cared that my birthday was celebrated on 11/11. They celebrated with me. I find it really weird that your husband is holding Veterans Day as this holy day for military. Am I the asshole for selling the Nintendo Switch my aunt got me for Christmas? Let me preface this by saying this is a throwaway account because I'm sure family will recognize me. So here's the situation. I, am 17, recently got a Nintendo Switch for Christmas from my aunt. I was over the moon when I opened it. I've been wanting one for a while but I couldn't afford it. So fast forward the next day. My aunt hands me note. I read it, and it's a list of rules and regulations that she wants me to follow while playing the Switch. According to her rules, I have to give her daughter, who is also visiting, a certain amount of playtime each day whenever she's around. I have to keep the volume at a certain level. I can't play any games with violence or adult themes, which is basically just anything rated above E10+, and I'm not allowed to let anyone else play it without her permission. There was also one other rule. I had to enable parental controls so she could monitor my activity. To give you some context, I see this aunt maybe twice a year. I understand that she's just trying to look out for me and make sure that I'm not playing inappropriate games, but I felt like she was treating me like a child and that her rules were a bit ridiculous. So I decided to sell the Switch online at a steep discount and use the money to buy a new one without any strings attached. My aunt found out and got pissed, saying I was ungrateful and that I should have thought about her feelings before I decided to do something so selfish. My parents are also mad at me and say I should have just talked to her about it first. Did I do something wrong here? Am I the asshole? Haha. Well played, young man. Aunt sounds like the relative from hell. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You are 17, not 7. Gifts with strings aren't gifts. If you were my kid, I'd be patting you on the back for thinking outside of the box and finding a solution to her rules. Good job. Not the asshole. She didn't give you a gift. She gave you a contract, obligation, responsibility. Better, I think, would be to have read the rules, politely said, "No thank you," and handed it back. But the money is nice. Not the asshole. First off, you're 17. Not 11. Secondly, she is not your parent, so this is not her call. Props for finding a loophole. Open mouth smile. Absolutely not the asshole. Why is she trying to police your use of the gift? A true gift should come with no strings attached. She's being unreasonable.